The most challenging part of the trip was being patient with all of my kids at some times, because during game time or open gym they can get pretty insane, and you just have to really work with that and discipline them when you have to, and that can also be hard, just disciplining them.
Keeping people under control, because I had boys and they're boys. They were still pretty good for the most of the trip. And also just trying to get through the language barrier and all of that, but luckily we had some people help us out, and I was able to use some of my Spanish knowledge to my advantage. That was good.
To keep my energy levels up from Monday to Friday, it's easy, it was easy for me to be really energized on Monday, but by the time Friday came around, I was really mopey and I didn't really want to do much. But it's just about pushing through and continuing to be really energetic. So that was the hardest thing for me on the trip.
Probably keeping the devotions every day. I have to continuously remind myself, hey, you have to do this, which I am okay at, but not really great. So that kind of taught me a lesson.
So the most challenging part of the trip for me was probably having to speak up and be authoritative above the group of boys. You had to be loud and firm with them to even get their attention, let alone get them to behave.
Just keeping energized is probably the toughest thing for me.
I think the most challenging part was honestly kind of leaving the kids at the end of the week, because I just had developed such a heart for them, and seeing some of them last year and this year, the growth in them, I just felt bad leaving at the end of the week. I just wanted to spend more time with all of them.
The biggest challenge on this trip was my seizure. It was scary for everybody, scary for me, very draining. I do feel like God taught me a lot through it being so tough. He gave me the strength to push through, and I feel like I was strengthened in my relationship with Him, just trusting Him that everything will be okay.
One of the biggest things God taught me on the trip was to just keep energized for the kids and to give them your best, like we should everything, but just over a week's span to give the kids your best.
The biggest thing that God taught me on the trip was to really socialize with all of the other people that went on the trip with us, and even all of the kids during snack time or whatever, when we're just alone with the kids.
Pre-K through second grade boys is who I had, and I was kind of nervous because they were the roughest group last year, but God gave me the strength to be with them all week, and you could definitely see behavior improvements by the end of the week. It was just cool to see how God gave me the strength to do it.
The biggest thing that God taught me on the trip was probably that I take so much for granted because of hearing the stories and interacting with the kids. They would tell me stories about their home life, and it was really kind of broke my heart because sometimes they didn't have parents to watch over them, or their home, their actual home was messed up. And so I just kind of needed to take a step back and say, wait, I have all this stuff and I need to be thankful for it.
The biggest thing that God taught me on this trip was that He loves anyone despite whatever language they speak or whatever situation they're in or anything like that, because I had a few kids that mainly spoke Spanish, but we still had the opportunity to teach them about God's Word, and they understood us, which I think was God's love working inside them.
I think the biggest thing God taught me was just these things that I'm doing in Cicero, and things that I've learned here, things that I can take home and that I can apply at home to my life, and that I can show the same kind of love that I show to these kids, to my family and other people that I see every day at home.
So God taught me on this trip to love all of my girls equally. So that also means spending time with the girl or two that wouldn't sit with everyone else in the group, that wanted to be alone and didn't want to participate.
I think the most rewarding part of the trip was probably just seeing like the spiritual growth in the kids and seeing how they've changed from like last year to this year, and how all of them were just like realizing like who Jesus is and what he can do for their lives, and also seeing all of us on the team and like how we have grown spiritually, and then seeing just what God has done in our lives through the trip as well.
I could see like people witnessing to the kids, and I could see the kids kind of like feeding off of that. And probably what was great was a couple of the kids asking questions about like the lessons and all that stuff, that they were actually learning something. And like I got to talk to like some of the kids about like God and how he came to earth and that we're sinful and all this stuff, and it was just kind of great that I felt like God was actually like really working in the kids.
Seeing all the girls come together at the end of the week, even like the really quiet ones that at first were really shy, but you know, with a little like nudging and pushing and be like, hey, come play with us, you know, everyone, you know, came together and acted like a big group of friends. So it was really, really rewarding to see them just come together and like work as a group and be able to become friends.
The most rewarding part of the trip was probably seeing the behavior difference from the beginning of the week to the end. Friday, it seemed they had gotten better and they knew the rules and how to act, and they had just, it encouraged me so much to see, oh, this was 5 days that they've been here and they've learned so much already and are acting so much different.
The most rewarding part of the trip was seeing the kids happy and energized, and seeing more kids coming throughout the week, and yeah, seeing them build friendships and whatnot.
The most rewarding part of the trip was on the last day when all of my girls came up and hugged me. They were just like, we're gonna miss you so much. And then on some points of the week, I had girls come up to me and ask me some really deep questions like, am I gonna go to heaven, and a bunch of stuff like that. And it was really cool to just talk to them about that and where they are in their relationship with God.
I think one of the most rewarding parts of this trip was knowing that the kids understood everything that was going on, even though I had like a pretty young group, but they still like had a very firm understanding of the lessons and everything like that.
So it's really rewarding to see the kids' face light up, like when we talk about God. Like if something, you don't know what the spark could be, so you could say, you know, one small thing and they just light up, and you just get to see them become so interested in what you have to say about the Lord and all the amazing things that he could do.
I just want to say a really big thank you to all of you Resonators for praying for me and supporting me when I had my seizure. Everything that you did, it showed me that I really do have a lot of friends and a lot of supporting people around me. So thank you very much.